Someone once told me, Guruji, it's very easy to make a man fall in love, but very hard to make him stay respectful. And I said, that's because love can come from attraction, but respect comes from character. See, true respect isn't demanded, it's inspired. And when a woman understands her worth, her boundaries, and her grace, even the most arrogant man bows in admiration. Today, I'll share with you 4 powerful rules that women who are truly respected by men always follow. Not because they are loud, but because they are clear. Not because they are controlling, but because they are centered. A woman who truly values herself does not wait for others to tell her she's worthy. She wakes up in the morning and looks into the mirror not to find flaws, but to find strength. She doesn't measure her worth by the number of likes on social media, the attention she gets from men, or the compliments she receives from people around her. Her worth is not a reflection in someone else's eyes. It's a reflection of her inner peace, her principles, and the way she treats herself when no one is watching. When a woman values herself, her entire life changes. The way she walks, the way she talks, even the way she makes decisions, everything begins to align with dignity. She doesn't beg for respect because her actions already demand it silently. She knows that the most powerful statement she can make is not through argument, but through the calmness of knowing who she is. In daily life, many women confuse self-value with arrogance. But there is a big difference. Arrogance says, I am better than others. Self-value says, I am not less than anyone. It's about balance. It's about knowing that you can be kind without letting people use your kindness as a weakness. You can be gentle without being naive. You can be humble, yet firm in what you deserve. Imagine a young woman who works hard every day, managing her family, her job, her dreams, and her emotions. There are days she feels invisible. Nobody thanks her for her effort. Nobody notices how much she sacrifices. But one day, she decides something quietly in her heart. Even if no one appreciates me, I will still appreciate myself. That decision changes everything. She stops seeking validation from outside and starts celebrating her own progress inside. She buys herself flowers not because someone forgot it, but because she remembers her own worth. That's what valuing yourself looks like. It's self-respect in action. There is something magnetic about a woman who respects her time and energy. When she starts to say no to things that drain her, her peace increases. When she stops chasing people who don't care, her dignity returns. She learns that her time is sacred, her emotions are not a playground, and her dreams are not negotiable. Every no she says to nonsense becomes a yes to her peace. That's when others start noticing her strength. In the modern world, where comparison is constant and attention spans are short, it's easy to forget your own value. You see someone prettier, richer, more successful, and suddenly you feel like you're not enough. But here's the truth. There will always be someone who looks better, earns more, or speaks smoother. But no one will ever be you. Your experiences, your scars, your laughter, your journey, that's your signature. No copy exists. When a woman embraces her individuality, she becomes powerful. Respect also grows from consistency. A woman who values herself doesn't break her standards for temporary attention. If a man doesn't treat her with sincerity, She doesn't beg for affection, she walks away with grace because she knows it's better to walk alone with dignity than to walk with someone who doesn't see your worth. That silence, that confidence, that choice, it shakes people. It teaches them how to treat you. Think about this. When you walk into a room, people will treat you the way you treat yourself. If you show up unsure, apologetic, and desperate to please, the world will mirror that energy. But if you walk in with quiet confidence, with kindness, but firmness, people will sense it immediately. Respect doesn't come from loudness. It comes from the calm assurance that you won't compromise your worth. There's a simple example I often give. Imagine you have a beautiful diamond ring. Would you toss it anywhere carelessly? No, right? You'd keep it safe, handle it carefully, and only share it with those who value it. Then why treat your heart, your time, your body, and your mind with less care than a piece of jewelry? You are far more precious than gold or diamonds. You are divine energy in human form. Treat yourself that way. A woman who values herself also doesn't compete with others. She supports, encourages, and uplifts other women because she understands that someone else's success does not diminish her own. She knows that true confidence doesn't compare, it inspires. When she walks into a room, she brings light, not jealousy, and that makes her unforgettable. You'll notice something powerful in women who truly value themselves. They don't need to prove anything. They're not loud, they're not aggressive, but their presence speaks louder than words. You feel their confidence. They handle challenges with grace. They forgive but do not forget the lesson. They love deeply, but they never lose themselves in the process. So if you want to earn respect, begin by respecting yourself. Set boundaries. Take care of your body. Nourish your mind. Feed your soul. Dress in a way that makes you feel confident, not to impress others. Invest time in learning, in peace, in gratitude. Because the more you value yourself, the more the world mirrors that value back to you. When you finally stop chasing validation, something magical happens. People start chasing your energy. Your presence becomes rare, your silence becomes powerful, and your peace becomes your signature. Men, in particular, deeply respect women who carry that balance. Women who are compassionate yet strong, humble yet self-assured, gentle yet unshakable. Value yourself so deeply that others feel compelled to treat you better. And even if they don't, you'll still walk away with your head high because your worth was never dependent on their approval. It was always within you, and that, my dear, is the foundation of true respect. When you honor yourself enough to never accept less than what you deserve, a woman who communicates with grace carries a quiet power that no shouting or argument can ever achieve. She doesn't raise her voice to prove her point, because her calmness already speaks volumes. There is something magnetic about a woman who can control her emotions even when everything around her is chaotic. Her words heal instead of hurt. Her silence teaches instead of punishes. She knows that real communication is not about who talks the most, but about who understands the deepest. In life, we all face moments where anger tempts us to react, to defend ourselves, to prove that we are right. But a wise woman, one who has mastered graceful communication, pauses before she speaks. She knows that words once spoken cannot be taken back. So instead of throwing words like arrows, She chooses them like petals, gentle, thoughtful, and meaningful. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Imagine this: a couple is arguing. The man is shouting, frustrated, trying to prove his point. The woman listens quietly, not because she's powerless, but because she values peace over ego. When he finally finishes, she responds softly, "I understand how you feel. Let's not fight to win. Let's talk to understand." In that one sentence, she changes the energy of the entire conversation. Her calm disarms his anger. Her understanding melts his pride. That is the strength of grace. It turns conflict into connection. Many people confuse silence with surrender, but that's a mistake. A graceful woman's silence is not about giving up, it's about choosing peace over unnecessary noise. She doesn't speak just to fill space, she speaks to bring sense. When others lose control, she becomes the anchor. When emotions rise, she becomes the calm. And because she communicates from a place of composure, not chaos, her words carry more weight. People listen when she speaks because they know she speaks with purpose. In daily life, we meet different kinds of people, some kind, some difficult, some who misunderstand us. It's easy to lose patience, to snap back, to say something harsh in the heat of the moment. But a woman of grace knows that her tone determines the outcome. She could destroy with her words, but she chooses to build instead. Even in disagreement, she remains respectful. She doesn't insult, she doesn't belittle, she simply expresses herself with dignity. That's why people remember her not for what she said, but for how she said it. Think of those moments when you've seen a woman handle tension with patience. Maybe a mother calming a child's tantrum, or a leader managing a stressful situation at work. Her strength isn't in shouting orders, but in her ability to keep calm and guide others with her tone. Her voice carries reassurance, not aggression. Her calmness gives others the courage to calm down too. This is how communication, when done with grace, becomes an instrument of harmony. A woman who communicates with grace understands that listening is more powerful than talking. She listens not just to reply but to understand. When someone speaks to her, she pays attention. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't judge. Because she knows that most people don't really want advice, they just want to feel heard. And when you make someone feel heard, you build respect that lasts far longer than any argument won. There's also beauty in the way she uses her words to uplift rather than to wound. When others gossip, she stays quiet. When others criticize, she compliments. When others find faults, she finds lessons. She knows her words carry energy, the power to heal or to harm. So she chooses kindness even when it's not returned. That choice sets her apart in a world that confuses cruelty with confidence. Let's take an example from everyday life. Imagine a workplace where a woman is unfairly blamed for something that wasn't her fault. Instead of reacting emotionally or arguing loudly, she takes a deep breath, gathers her thoughts, and responds clearly and calmly. "I understand there's confusion, but let's look at the facts together." Her tone is steady, her posture confident. Suddenly, the tension softens. People begin to listen. Her grace in communication wins respect, even from those who doubted her. Graceful communication is also about honesty, not sugarcoating the truth, but expressing it with compassion. A woman who values communication doesn't avoid difficult conversations. She faces them with courage and empathy. She can say no without guilt, I disagree without aggression, and I'm sorry without losing pride. That's what makes her communication powerful. It's truthful yet tender, strong yet kind. There's another layer to her power. She knows when not to speak. Silence is her strength when words would only create more noise. She doesn't explain herself to people determined to misunderstand her. She doesn't chase validation through arguments. Instead, she lets her actions speak. And the beauty is, her calmness often says more than 1,000 explanations ever could. In relationships, her graceful communication becomes a source of peace. She listens when her partner feels lost. She speaks love even in frustration. She doesn't react impulsively to every disagreement because she understands that temporary anger should never destroy permanent respect. Her words are chosen carefully because she knows they can either build bridges or burn them. And in her world, love is too sacred to destroy with careless words. Over time, people begin to realize that she is different, not because she's perfect, but because she carries herself with emotional intelligence. Her presence soothes, her voice restores balance, and even in silence, she commands respect. Because people know she's not reacting from emotion, she's responding from wisdom. So, a woman who communicates with grace doesn't need to prove she's powerful. Her calmness already proves it. She doesn't dominate, she influences. She doesn't demand respect, she earns it. She turns every conversation into an opportunity to connect, to heal, to inspire. And in a world full of noise, her calm becomes music. Because at the end of the day, people may forget what you said, but they will never forget how your words made them feel. And when your words come from grace, they will always leave behind peace, not pain. A woman who stands firm in her boundaries is a woman who understands her worth. She knows that boundaries are not walls built out of fear, but fences made of self-respect. They are not about shutting people out, but about teaching them how to treat her. She realizes that love without respect is not love at all, and kindness without limits becomes self-destruction. Her boundaries are not harsh, they are healthy. They don't come from arrogance, they come from awareness. Every day, in small and big ways, people test boundaries. Someone may speak rudely and expect forgiveness. Someone may take advantage of your time and assume you will always be available. Someone may keep making promises they never keep. But the woman who has learned the art of boundaries knows when to stop giving endless chances. She understands that protecting her peace is not selfish, it is sacred. Because if you do not guard your peace, the world will consume it. There is strength in saying no. It is one of the simplest words, yet one of the hardest to use. But a woman with self-respect knows that no is a complete sentence. It does not need a paragraph of explanation. When she says no to things that drain her, she says yes to her peace. When she refuses to be treated as an option, she declares that she is a priority. Her boundaries do not make her unkind, they make her clear, and clarity is power. Imagine a woman who is constantly overworking because she cannot say no to others. She takes on everyone's burden, at work, at home, in friendships. People come to her because she is dependable. But slowly she starts to feel exhausted, invisible, used. One day she finally says, I need a break. That one decision changes her life. Some people get upset, but the right ones understand. She learns that people who truly love her will never be angry at her for choosing herself. Her peace becomes her new priority. Boundaries are not about controlling others, they are about controlling access to your energy. A woman who has firm boundaries knows that not everyone deserves a front row seat in her life. She can love people from a distance if that distance keeps her healthy. She can walk away from relationships that disrespect her, not because she is cold-hearted, but because she knows that peace is priceless. There's a certain glow in a woman who has learned to walk away from what breaks her. She doesn't cry for closure anymore, she creates it. She doesn't wait for someone to value her, she values herself enough to leave. Some may say, but isn't love about tolerance? Yes, love is patient. But love is not blind. Tolerance should not mean tolerating pain. Forgiveness should not mean forgetting your worth. When someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries and you still stay, you are teaching them that disrespect has no consequence. But when you calmly enforce your limits, you teach them something deeper. You teach them what self-respect looks like. Boundaries also show up in everyday choices. A woman who values her boundaries doesn't allow gossip to live in her circle. She doesn't entertain negative conversations about others because she knows words carry energy. She doesn't let her mind become a dumping ground for other people's chaos. She decides where her attention goes because she knows attention is currency. Where attention flows, energy grows. Sometimes, the hardest boundaries to set are not with others, but with ourselves. The woman who stands firm in her limits knows when to stop scrolling, when to rest, when to step away from toxic habits, when to silence the inner critic. She sets emotional boundaries too. She doesn't overthink people's opinions. She doesn't chase those who walk away, and she doesn't cling to things that have expired. Her boundaries keep her grounded. They remind her that she doesn't need to control everything, she just needs to protect her peace. Think of a woman who has faced heartbreak. She loved deeply, gave endlessly, but was met with betrayal. She could have turned bitter, but instead she built boundaries. She learned that love doesn't mean losing yourself. So the next time love knocks, she welcomes it, but with awareness. She gives without losing balance. She listens to her intuition before her emotions. Her heart remains open, but her boundaries guard its rhythm. That kind of maturity is rare, and that's why it's respected. When a woman sets boundaries, she doesn't become less loving, she becomes more authentic. She starts choosing relationships that match her peace, not her loneliness. She spends time with people who pour into her the same way she pours into them. She doesn't chase validation because she no longer needs external approval to feel complete. Her boundaries build her confidence, brick by brick, moment by moment. Even in the workplace, her boundaries define her strength. She's the one who works with excellence but refuses to be overworked. She delivers results but doesn't allow anyone to disrespect her time. She knows that saying no to unfair treatment isn't rebellion, it's self-respect. The same people who once doubted her seriousness eventually respect her discipline. That's the quiet power of boundaries. They don't make noise, but they make impact. People often misunderstand boundaries as distance, but the truth is, they create closeness with the right people. When you have healthy limits, people know where they stand with you. There is no confusion, no manipulation, no guessing games. Your yes means yes, your no means no. That clarity builds trust, and trust builds respect. A woman who stands firm in her boundaries becomes a lighthouse, steady, clear, and impossible to ignore. She doesn't chase love, she attracts it by being grounded. She doesn't beg for attention, she receives it naturally because people are drawn to her confidence. Her energy says, I respect myself enough to walk away from what isn't aligned, and that message speaks louder than any words could. In the end, her boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges to peace, to balance, to self-respect. She understands that protecting her space doesn't mean she's selfish. It means she's wise enough to know that her peace is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And once she learns to guard it, no one can take it from her again. A woman who inspires instead of demands carries a rare kind of beauty. One that doesn't shout, doesn't control, doesn't force, yet moves mountains with her presence. She doesn't tell people what to do. She simply lives in a way that makes them want to do better. Her actions become her voice. Her consistency becomes her power. And her grace becomes her influence. The energy around her doesn't feel heavy or demanding. It feels inviting, peaceful, and uplifting. She is the kind of woman who doesn't need to prove she's strong because her calmness already shows it. She doesn't demand respect because her character already earns it. In a world where many try to control others to feel powerful, an inspiring woman chooses a different path. She leads by example. She knows that real strength lies not in forcing someone to change, but in showing them what growth looks like. She believes that change rooted in inspiration lasts much longer than change rooted in pressure. When people watch her live with purpose, kindness, and patience, they naturally begin to rise to her level. Her very presence becomes a mirror that makes others reflect on their own lives. Think of a woman who faces challenges but never complains. Even in her struggles, she maintains dignity. She might have every reason to give up, yet she doesn't. She keeps moving forward with faith, with effort, and with hope. People around her see her perseverance, and without her saying a word, they feel motivated to try harder in their own lives. That's the quiet power of inspiration. It teaches without speaking, it leads without commanding. There is something deeply powerful about how she carries herself in relationships too. She doesn't demand that her partner be more loving, more respectful, or more successful. Instead, she becomes love, respect, and growth herself. Her consistency, her maturity, and her peace make the other person want to match her energy. When she communicates, she does it with empathy, not authority. When she guides, she does it with patience, not pressure. Slowly, the man by her side transforms, not because she forced him, but because she awakened his better self simply by being her authentic self. In daily life, she lives by example in the smallest ways. She keeps her promises, arrives on time, and treats everyone with respect. From a waiter to a CEO, she doesn't speak ill of others, doesn't gossip, doesn't complain about life endlessly. Instead, she focuses on gratitude and growth. People notice that. Her calm discipline silently teaches more than lectures ever could. Her way of living becomes a standard that others naturally want to meet. That's why men deeply respect such women, because they don't compete with ego, they uplift with example. Imagine a scenario at work. Everyone is panicking because a big project failed. Some are blaming each other, some are shouting, some are ready to quit. But she stays composed. She takes a deep breath, analyzes the problem, and says, "All right, let's fix this together." Her calmness becomes contagious. People who were losing control start to regain focus. Her energy changes the entire atmosphere of the room. That's inspiration, not through words, but through behavior. She didn't demand leadership. She became a leader through her grace under pressure. A woman who inspires understands that people grow when they feel seen, not when they feel judged. So she creates a space where others feel comfortable being themselves. She doesn't criticize, she encourages. She doesn't remind people of their failures, she reminds them of their potential. That's why people are drawn to her, because being around her feels like sunlight, warm and safe. She teaches others that real power doesn't dominate, it illuminates. Even in her relationships, whether with family, friends, or a partner, she nurtures instead of controls. If someone makes a mistake, she doesn't humiliate them, she helps them see what they can learn. She doesn't use love as a weapon, she uses it as a guide. Her love is not clingy, not desperate, not conditional. It's calm, patient, and pure. And because she offers it without demand, it earns deep respect in return. Her inspiration comes from her authenticity. She doesn't pretend to be perfect, and that honesty makes her relatable. People see her flaws, her vulnerabilities, her quiet battles, yet they also see how she carries them with strength. That balance between realness and resilience inspires others far more than any perfection could. She shows that you can be soft and strong at the same time, kind and assertive, humble yet confident. Think of how she handles disappointment. Instead of blaming others or losing control, she takes it as a lesson. She asks herself, "What is this teaching me?" That mindset inspires others to stop seeing problems as punishments and start seeing them as teachers. She becomes a living example of emotional maturity, and that energy draws respect naturally. People look at her and say, "I want to be that calm. I want to handle life like she does." What makes her different is that she never demands anything from others that she doesn't practice herself. She doesn't ask for honesty unless she's honest. She doesn't expect loyalty unless she's loyal. She doesn't seek peace unless she lives in peace. That alignment between her words and her actions gives her an unshakable power, the power of integrity. And integrity always inspires respect. There's also a silent glow in her, a glow that comes from contentment. She's not chasing validation. She's not seeking attention. She's at peace with who she is. And that peace itself becomes magnetic. People want to be around her because her energy feels different. She doesn't take from others, she adds to them. Her presence doesn't create drama, it creates balance. And when she loves with purpose. She doesn't say, "You must change for me." Instead, she becomes so full of love, so centered in who she is, that her partner naturally wants to become better. He starts to match her energy, not because she asked, but because her light reminds him of his own. That's the beauty of an inspiring woman. She doesn't push, She pulls, not with force but with grace. In a world full of noise and control, a woman who inspires stands out quietly. She doesn't try to impress, she expresses. She doesn't seek power, she radiates it. And without even realizing it, she touches hearts, transforms minds, and leaves a mark wherever she goes. Because when she walks into a room, people don't just see her, they feel her. Her energy whispers, "This is what peace looks like. This is what strength feels like." And that, right there, is why men deeply respect her, not because she demands it, but because she lives in a way that makes respect the only possible response. Patience with purpose is one of the rarest and most powerful qualities a woman can possess. It is not the patience that comes from weakness or fear of confrontation, but the kind that blooms from deep inner strength and wisdom. It's the ability to stay calm in uncertainty, to trust the process even when the path ahead seems invisible, and to believe that what's meant for her will never miss her. A woman with patience doesn't sit still and wait helplessly. She works, she grows, and she prepares herself for what she deserves. She knows that divine timing is never late, and that real blessings come when she is ready to handle them, not when she's desperate to have them. In everyday life, we see women being tested constantly. Whether it's waiting for the right opportunity, the right partner, or the right moment to shine, the world around them is always rushing. Everyone wants results instantly, answers immediately, success overnight. But a woman with purposeful patience stands apart. She understands that some flowers bloom in spring, some in summer, and some only after a long winter. And that doesn't make one better than the other. It simply means everything unfolds in its own time. Imagine a woman building her career. She works hard, gives her best, but doesn't get recognition right away. Others around her might get promotions faster, applause sooner. It would be easy for her to feel disheartened, to question her worth. But instead of comparing, she keeps moving forward with quiet confidence. She keeps learning, improving, showing up every single day with the same dedication. And then one day, the door that was closed for years finally opens, and it opens wide. That's the reward of patience with purpose. Because while others were chasing speed, she was building strength. Patience doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing everything you can and trusting the rest to unfold. It means giving your best today without trying to control tomorrow. It means working with consistency and letting life surprise you at the right time. This kind of patience gives a woman peace. She no longer chases what runs away from her, she attracts what belongs to her. There's also another kind of patience, emotional patience. In relationships, misunderstandings, silence, and waiting can be painful. Many women want immediate reassurance, immediate closure, immediate change. But a wise woman knows that rushing emotions only creates confusion. She gives space for healing, for understanding, for maturity to grow. She doesn't demand that love move faster, she allows it to evolve naturally. She knows that sometimes people need time to learn, to realize, to return. And if they don't, it's not her loss, it's her protection. Think of a woman who has been through heartbreak. Instead of jumping from one relationship to another just to fill the emptiness, she chooses to sit with herself. She cries, she reflects, she learns. She doesn't rush into healing, because she knows true healing takes time. She waits for her heart to regain its strength. And when she finally loves again, she loves from wholeness, not from wounds. That's patience with purpose. The courage to stay still until you're strong again. A patient woman doesn't confuse waiting with wasting time. She knows that every season serves a purpose. Even her delays are part of her development. Every not yet she receives from life teaches her something she will need later. The job she didn't get taught her to be more skilled. The relationship that didn't last taught her self-worth. The plan that failed taught her resilience. And when things finally fall into place, she realizes nothing was wasted. Everything was preparation. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, patience becomes a superpower. A woman who can wait without losing enthusiasm is unstoppable. Because while impatience burns energy, patience builds it. When others quit because results didn't come quickly, she continues with quiet faith. She doesn't need to see the whole staircase to take the next step. She believes that every effort counts, every small act matters, and every delay is part of something bigger than she can see right now. Even in her personal growth, she practices patience. She doesn't expect to master peace overnight or heal from pain instantly. She allows herself to evolve slowly with compassion. She forgives herself for mistakes, understanding that progress is not a straight line. She embraces her journey, flaws and all. And that's why people are drawn to her, because her patience gives her an aura of peace that feels like home. There's a beautiful kind of confidence in a woman who waits with purpose. She doesn't beg for opportunities, she prepares for them. She doesn't chase love, she attracts it through her energy. She doesn't panic when life slows down, because she knows that stillness is also progress. She trusts the rhythm of her own life, even when others rush ahead. And when her moment comes, she doesn't just arrive, she arrives ready, mature, and grounded. Think of how a tree grows. For years, it remains small, unseen, quietly developing its roots beneath the soil. No one praises it, no one notices it. But then one day, it rises tall, strong enough to hold storms and shade others. That's what patience does to a woman. It builds her roots deep before she blooms high. The world may not see her growth in the waiting, but when her time comes, everyone will see her strength. Patience also gives her emotional freedom. She doesn't overreact to life's ups and downs. She knows that every situation passes, every wound heals, every storm clears. She doesn't allow temporary emotions to destroy permanent peace. Her calmness in chaos becomes her power. People around her start to rely on her energy because she radiates stability. And when success finally meets her, it's sweeter because she knows what it took to get there. Her patience makes her gratitude deeper. She values what she receives because she earned it slowly, gracefully, faithfully. And that patience teaches others too, that the best things in life are not rushed, they are revealed. A woman who practices patience with purpose doesn't lose faith when life tests her. She knows that what's delayed is not denied. She walks through every season with the quiet confidence that her story is unfolding exactly as it should, because she believes in the power of timing, the wisdom of growth, and the strength that comes from waiting well. And that's why her patience isn't passive, it's powerful, it's not weakness, It's wisdom. She's not just waiting for something to happen, she's becoming someone in the process. And when the right moment finally arrives, she doesn't have to chase it. It will find her ready, radiant, and stronger than ever before.